Israel's solution to that is, and I believe this is a moral solution, is if Hamas is, say for instance, firing missiles on Israel from a apartment complex, what they will do is they will first drop flyers if there's going to be an incursion on the area in general. Then they will ring up the house if they know there's civilians in that apartment block and want all the civilians to leave. Once they've left, let me finish. Once they before they drop any, before they do any military attack, they will do a flyover. If they notice that there's someone there, they will do a knock on the roof, which is a non-lethal explosion above a building. And only on that point, once they're sure there's no one there, will they actually hit the military target.
Thank you for that. Sounds like very fairy tale-like and very idealistic.
I can show you videos. Okay, everyone can Google. Everyone can Google.
Joseph, you have the time to speak.
Okay.
So you said you can show me videos. I've just showed you a video of two Israelis.
And what's happening now in that case?
IDF shooting a target which is unarmed.
And what's happening?
And then in that
You say unarmed, I say I don't know. What's happening in that instance? No, but what's happening in that instance?
He's getting shot.
No, afterwards. What's happening now? No, now, today. What's happening now in Israel about that incident? There's an investigation. There's a military investigation into what happened from the IDF.
Okay, no problem. So what I was going to say to you is, the narrative I would like you to pay attention to is a narrative that says that upon Israel's inception in 1948, up until this period of time now, just a simple looking at the map, the Palestinian territories, we'll see a constant shrinking of the Palestinian territories.
Beautiful.
Hold on, do you mind if I just allow you to do? And that has been, for the most part, gained either through war and or through the settlements that are being put now in the form of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and other places. My point to you is this. My point to you is, isn't it patently clear to you, isn't it very, very obvious for you to see that from the beginning when you had things like Plan Dalit, where you had government documents, and they still exist to this day, that show that the intention of the Israeli government was to wipe away as many of the Palestinians as possible up until this point, so as to every once in a while, every 2 years, 3 years, bombard the most densely populated area in the world of civilian populations, which is Gaza, bombard it, knowing full well that this will kill civilians. Isn't that clear to you? And then causing that place to be seized, such that you can't even bring things into it, and it takes certain things out of it, and a medical situation there has become dire, and the food situation has become incredibly. It's at the height of. It's now on the verge of being a humanitarian catastrophe. Don't you say that all of that, when you look at it completely, indicates to you that there is a problem in the policies of the IDF and of the Israeli government?
Okay, so can I respond and fact check each one of several of the points you made? First point was you claim that Israel's borders have been expanding.
Not expanding.
You said Palestinian land has been shrinking.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Israel has actually given away 70% of the territory it once held.
So
Did you know that?
No. The map shows.
So, no, it's exactly what the map shows.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so you don't know. Sinai. So
Sinai was never Israel's in the first place.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's go through law. Let's go through the history of the conflict.
We don't need to go through the whole history. You said Sinai. Sinai's part of
This
Egypt.
is why I don't like arguing. People dictate the terms. I respond to what you say, and then you say, I don't want to talk about that.
Joseph, come on. You don't have to get overexcited here, because here we're having a diplomatic discussion.
Okay, so let me respond. I know you're trying to patronise me and calm me down. That's how it feels.
You are getting angry.
I'm getting animated, yes, I'm not getting angry.
Okay, but you don't have to say, oh my God. I'll let you talk.
I said, oh my gosh, yeah.
Just tell me at any point. That was out of order, Joseph. At any point.
I'm sorry if my volume is offending
Joseph,
you.
listen to me.
But can I just respond to my point?
No problem.
I'll quiet it down.
At any point,
Because I
want to talk, I'll let you talk.
Okay.
Can I just finish one point, right? Now we know the two conflicts in Egypt, the 1967 conflict and 1973 conflict, which amounted to obviously Israel taking parts of Sinai away and then giving it back in 1973. I wouldn't consider, you're saying that Israel, you see here, it's the fallacy of equivocation. Because you said here, Israel has given back 70% of land. What he means to say is that Israel has given back 70% of land that it never owned in the first place.
How do you think states are born, Mohammed? How did the Islamic Caliphate come to stretch?
talking about
No,
Islamic
listen, no, because it's a very important point. How did, say, the Mamluks or any of the different caliphates, how did they come? I didn't know that.
There was ones in Egypt and ones in.
But so how did they come? How did they come to expand and have so much territory? Because they acquired it in conflict. In most cases, states are born out of conflict, yeah, and borders are defined by war. And the victor sets the border. Israel. Let me finish, because I let you finish. Israel was victorious in wars that it did not start. And Israel acquired land and exchanged it for peace. It gave back the Sinai Peninsula. It gave back Gaza. It gave back parts of Lebanon. It gave back the parts of the West Bank. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. And all in return for peace. Parts of the West Bank.
So go through the list again. Gave back Sinai.
Sinai.
Yeah. Which never was part of Israel in the first place.
How are states born? How did Britain come to have its part? How come Scotland is part of the UK?
Wait, hold on.
No. It's a straight question.
Okay, so there was an Act of the Union in 1509 or whatever it was.
So the British and the Scots were fighting for a long time, yeah?
There was an Act of the Union.
No, but were the British and Scots fighting for a long time?
Whatever it was.
Yeah. States are born out of conflict. Most of the Arab
a war that made Scotland part of the UK, by the way.
The British and the Scots were fighting the Jacobean Wars.
Hold on. There was no war that led to Scotland being part of the UK.
How come the British came to be in there?
Well, there was an Act of the Union.
Okay, fine, I hear what you're saying, but was Britain and Scotland fighting for centuries?
Okay, see, look, your point here is it's a bad example. Okay, I understand that you're talking about there was a time, okay, where, for example, certain countries were born out of war. Okay, I'm not saying that this didn't happen. And by the way,
that always happened. That is the history of statehood.
Okay, no problem. But what I'm saying to you is that what premise are you going with? If you're, do you believe you're a liberal Democrat?
No.
Hold on, please. Joseph.
Take the turn.
Joseph, I'm asking you a simple question, please. Do you believe in liberalism and democracy?
So do I? I would consider myself to be more of a libertarian, but yeah, I consider I have some liberal values.
So you believe in...
And democracy, certainly.
Democracy, so fine. I believe if you are true to a liberal framework from a philosophical perspective, you cannot say on the one hand that, okay, I believe in liberalism, and on the other hand say, well, states are born out of war. Because then the counter argument will be, yeah, that's a reality, but it's not a morally acceptable reality from your perspective.
So stop defining what I believe, for one. Jewish exceptionalism is what you're talking about. You're saying that all the other states are born out of warfare, but it's immoral for Jews to use that same barometer, use that same measure for themselves. No, you're saying that if I did...
No. Here's the difference, right? When we had the League of Nations collapse and then the UN start, yeah?
Yep.
Then you have the international laws. So you've got 2 or 3 different departments here. You've got 2 or 3 different dimensions. You have your own philosophical framework, which is liberalism and democracy from your perspective. And then you also have international laws. International laws which stipulate...
I don't accept the United Nations.
Okay.
So it's a different conversation. The United Nations just nominated Syria to be in charge of chemical warfare, whatever it is.
We all have our...
Saudi's in charge of the Human Rights Council.
Me personally, I have my own reservations of the United Nations, no problem. But what I'm saying is that you can't say you don't accept the United Nations on the one hand, and the country which you're an advocate for, which is Israel, is not only part of the United Nations, but is a shaping country in the United Nations.
It's not a shaping country. It's the one nation that is continuously
It's the one
condemned
nation in the last 100 years which has had its country, maybe not the one nation, but it's one of few nations in the last 100 years which has had the benefit of being defined as a country because of the United Nations. It's interesting that he's saying...
I disagree that... No, that's not how
yourself.
No, that's not what I said. I said the United Nations voted to recognise...
There was a resolution in 1947.
The United Nations does not have the legal power to create nations.
I understand, but in 1947 there was a resolution. From that resolution was begotten Israel in 1948.
Israel was created.
Had the resolution not taken place, then Israel would not be here.
What do you believe that vote was? Just so we can understand if we're talking on the same terms.
So from my understanding of history, throughout the 1940s and 50s, 1940s, the early 1940s, mid-1940s, there was this constant pressurization that the Zionist lobby was putting on Britain, to the extent where by 1943, I think it was, who was the guy in charge in 1943?
Churchill, Roosevelt?
No, it wasn't Churchill. It was, what's his name?
What were we talking about? Sorry, I had the text on
the guy from Labour.
Attlee. Clement Attlee.
Yeah, Clement Attlee. He promised at one point the what do you call it? The Israeli state, yeah?
Would be created.
And then he took a step back from that He took a step back from that, at which the Israelis or the Jews got very, very angry, and then he referred it to a mandate to Palestine. So Britain referred the case to a mandate to the United Nations. I apologize. Yeah. So they referred the case to the United Nations. After when Britain referred the case to United Nations, in 1947, that's when the resolution took place, and in May 1948 is when Israel was born. So here, what we're saying is, you're saying I don't accept the United Nations. The irony of that is, you're saying you don't accept an organization that actually had it not been in existence, had it not put in the resolution, Israel would not exist in the first place.
So do you believe the resolution brought Israel into existence?
I believe that without the resolution, Israel would not have come into existence in May 1948.
Okay, so I think we're saying the same thing. I believe,
Do you accept this?
so I'm just going to say what I believe,
Do you
I'm trying to answer. My understanding is Israel came into existence when they declared independence. The United Nations has no power to create a nation. That's not its function.
I'm not saying it is
so
now.
yeah, what they have
Colonial
the ability to do is to define global consensus. And at that point, there was global consensus to recognise Israel, and Israel declaring independence is actually
What
what
about
brought
the
Israel.
global consensus that we should have a Palestinian territories?
So, again, you're looking like you got me.
I'm just wondering because
I've never said. When have I ever said there shouldn't be a Palestinian state?
Pardon?
When have I ever said there shouldn't be a Palestinian state?
Okay, so you do believe in Palestinian.
So I just said my outlook for the solution. My solution is that I don't know whether it's one state, two state. If the Palestinian state, let me listen.
All over the place.
Let me listen.
You don't know what you believe.
If a Palestinian, no, I'll tell you what I believe. I believe the two-state solution from the bottom of my heart with incredible passion until I actually started visiting the West Bank and realizing the reality of what that meant. Article 6 of the Palestinian National Charter says that any Jew that wasn't living there before the Zionist conquest, which most legal experts interpret to mean 1917, will be driven from the land, will be thrown out of the land, yeah? So you've got 500,000 Jews living in the West Bank, not ignoring Jerusalem, which you consider to be an international city. 500,000 Jews living in the West Bank.
What does the UN say about it?
Can I just finish my point? 500,000 Jews living in the West Bank will be ethnically cleansed. If a two-state solution means making 500,000 Jewish,
know how you can say ethnically
half because they're cleansed because they're Jewish by the Palestinian National Army.
But they were living in peace before.
Listen, can I make a point without you like patronising and talking down to me?
Under the Palestinians.
Let him say what he wants to say. Go on.
There are 500,000 Jews living there. The Palestinian National Authority, in Article 6 of their national charter, state that any Jew that wasn't living there before 1917 will be thrown out. They're thrown out.
Palestinian National Charter?
The Palestinian National Authority's charter, Article 6. Google it. Anyone can look it up.
What are you talking about?
So the Palestinian National Authority, the PLO, had a charter which they reconfirmed in 1967.
Hold on, are you talking? Because here, look. This is the kind of equivocation that causes me to be confused.
Okay.
Because your initial criticism was not to the PLO. You had a long discussion now about Hamas.
I'm not singing the praises of the PLO. I think the PLO are a treacherous organisation.
Okay, fine. So what's the issue here?
The issue is that the PLO, or the National Party, it's now Fatah, have explicitly stated that they will, what I consider to be ethnically cleanse 500,000 Jews.
About ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
No, but that's
What do you call removing someone from a land based on their religion?
But hold on, because here, this is something which actually academically has been written about, and this is something a term that has been used in conjunction with the Israeli operations. So hold on, because I find it really interesting, right? That you're using the term ethnic cleansing.
That's what would happen.
In conjunction, hold on, it's not what, you can't predict the future like that.
No, that's what the charter says. You can only go by what Article 6 of the charter says. And anyone can Google 1967.
But hold on. You and I both know international politics doesn't work in that way, all right? You don't understand the basics of geopolitics. That if you had, for example, a Palestinian state with Jewish people in it, the moment such ethnic cleansing could even be conceivable is the moment all of the foreign powers will be involved.
That's what already happened when Jordan conquered the West Bank. They ethnically cleansed the Jews.
No, this is not correct.
That's absolutely correct. Jordan enacted a law which forbade Jews from being citizens of Jordan, which is why you have no Jews living in Jordan today, and you have no Jews living in Palestinian Authority-controlled areas of the West Bank, Area A.
What is ethnic cleansing?
Okay, if you've got an ethnic minority, or they can even be a majority, you have an ethnic group which is driven from a land because of their ethnicity.
That's not cleansing.
That is, you're confusing genocide if you're going to say killing. Genocide is the slaughter. Ethnic cleansing is driving someone from the land.
Not necessarily. You can combine the two themes.
Okay, fine, but I'm talking about ethnic cleansing. The definition of ethnic cleansing is driving people from a land based on their ethnicity.
You've just made a claim that Jordan ethnically cleansed
the Jews. The Jews. When Jordan conquered the West Bank, they enacted a law which said that Jewish people are forbidden from residing or having citizenship in Jordan,
no problem.
Which they then
that's what you consider.
Can I just finish my point? Can I just finish my point?
Yeah.
Jordan conquered the West Bank. Britain recognised it. It said the West Bank is now part of Jordan, and they banned Jews from living there. The Palestinian National Authority the PLO continued this prohibition, which is why to this day there is not one Jew.
So if you consider that ethnic cleansing, so now you're saying a restriction on the Jewish mobility in and around the West Bank area is tantamount to ethnic cleansing.
No, I'm saying the reality today. Irrespective of whether you think the Israeli Jews should be in the West Bank or not, the reality is today they're there. And if you believe that, can I just finish?
Yeah,
if you believe that the moral solution to the problem in the Israel, West Bank, Palestine, call them what you will, if you believe the solution is to create 500,000 Jewish refugees, that's ethnic cleansing, and it's not moral. It's not a moral argument.
Now you're creating a straw man.
It's not a straw man. That's what would happen.
If you believe that's a conditional that has no relevance to my position.
So the Palestinian National Authority's charter, the PLO's charter, which was reconfirmed in 1967, explicitly states this is what they're doing. This is not a straw man.
You're going back a good 40 years ago to make a point about what a charter says.
How many Arabs live in Israel?
How many Arabs
live in Israel?
You tell me, man. You're the Israeli.
Yeah, it is over a million, between 1 million and 1.6 million, somewhere within that range. 20% of the population are there. How many Jews live in Areas A of the Palestinian-controlled territory in Gaza and the West Bank?
Is that how you create?
No.
Why do they need to live there when they've created settlements there, my friend? They've taken the land over. What are you talking about?
They refuse. They're not allowed to live in the land. It's a continuation of Jordanian law. The Jews aren't allowed to live there.
I want to ask you a simple question. The settlements that are being built now in the West Bank, what is your stance on them?
So that's how we start the conversation. Perfect. And I asked you to define what are the borders. If you can tell me what the borders are, I'll tell you what my position on the settlements are. I tell you. Okay, so for me, there are no borders. That's the problem.
Okay. Now we understand your position. There are no borders.
Yeah. So what are the borders?
So is Gaza not part of it?
No. So why are there no borders? Why don't you be clever? Why don't you ask me why there are no borders rather than spooky? No. So what I mean by that is the 1949 armistice line. Do you know the difference between the pre-67 border, the Green Line, and the 49 armistice line?
Golden Heights and these things are
they're basically the same thing. And so the 1949 armistice lines are the agreement with Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah. And so the agreement with Jordan was a temporary ceasefire. Yeah? Both Jordan and Israel categorically stated at the time of making the truce, this is a temporary ceasefire. Yeah? East Jerusalem, West Jerusalem never existed. There was no such division as East Jerusalem or West Jerusalem. Yeah, we can agree that.
No, we can't agree that.
Listen. No. We can't.
Hold on. I'm not talking about Jerusalem now because you've gone into a minutiae. We're talking about the generic.
East Jerusalem, the whole term East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem.
What do you mean there's no borders?
Sorry, I didn't mean to spit. The whole agreement between Jordan created East Jerusalem. It created West Jerusalem. It created the West Bank. What's the West Bank of? It's the West Bank of Jordan. The East Bank is Jordan.
My question to you is, you've just made a statement that there are no borders. My question to you is, what did you mean by that statement?
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Go ahead.
Israel and the Palestinians have never agreed to borders.
So what does that entail? What does that mean?
So it means that they have to sit down and negotiate what the borders are. And for you...
Okay, hold on. Now we know, as Thomas Hobbes says, covenants are but words. If they're not backed by swords. That's what he said, yeah? We know that in a situation, from an international relations perspective, where you have a stronger power versus a weaker power, in this case, no doubt, Israel represents the stronger power.
Israel is the weaker power.
No,
It's
hold on.
surrounded by Arab states that want to destroy it.
No, wait, no, they're not. No, they are not. No, they are not, bro.
Really? So
Yes,
Israel...
Yes. No,
Okay,
hold
just
on.
want to do a quick little
Hold-
Muslim
no,
count.
hold on,
How
hold on.
many people here
No,
would
no,
like to see
no,
Israel
that's
gone
not-
tomorrow?
Hold on. Joseph, please. You're not an ignorant person, okay?
Thank you.
Egypt do not want the Egyptian government.
Thank you for the clarification. What about the Egyptian people?
Forget about the Egyptian people. They're not in control of anything.
No,
the
it's-
military. Listen carefully. The Egyptian people are not in control of the military complex, nor are they in control of the government. The Egyptian government cannot be said to have a stated objective at this present time of wanting to destroy Israel.
And why is that?
Because they're in alliance with the Americans, who are in alliance with Israel.
No, but what it was actually before the alliance between the American, who negotiated
No,
peace?
no,
Who negotiated
1973.
peace? No, but who I think was actually
Sadat.
Yeah, exactly Sadat.
Okay. So hey, so, anyways,
And
anyways,
Begin,
yeah,
and they
Begin,
negotiated
yeah.
peace,
Mohammad
and they
Begin.
gave away land. They gave away land.
It's not their land. Sinai was
Well,
never
okay,
part of
we're going round in circles
you
now.
keep saying give away land.
If you attack me, yeah,
Yes.
you attack a nation and you lose that
No,
war
I want
and
you
you
to-
lose
no,
the
no,
land.
Hold on. I like what you just said there. If I attack you and take your hat, which is a nice hat, yeah? If I attack you and take your hat, and then put it on my head, yeah? And then afterwards I give it back to you. I say I'll give him back land. I'll give him back your
If
hat.
you launch an attack
Your
on
hat.
me, if you launch an attack on me and take my hat and lose your hat in the lose your
no
hat,
problem.
I mean, it's not going to happen. You're a big guy. It's like I can't even reach your hat.
No problem.
Go on, go for it. Go on, go.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Although the option is always available for MMA.
One thing I'm going to say, just on that. Why do you guys always call out Tommy Robinson for violence? You stoop to his level. You're like, I'll fight you
right.
MMA. It's wrong. You like be a bigger man. I mean,
We're just
excuse
using
the pun.
We're just using it to get views and subscribers, which we've achieved. Anyways, I was going to take a step back now and say to you, listen, it depends on the premise. I haven't got a problem with what you're saying. In fact, let me be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
If you say to me, I believe in not just war theory, I believe that, whatever, you take the land, you win in war. So fine. If that is your premise, that you take the land that you win.
I'm saying that's what's happened in history.
No problem.
Yeah.
That's a morally acceptable premise. If that's your morality, then you have not contradicted yourself. Do you understand? Because you're saying that if the situation is that you take the land which you win in war, then ISIS is justified. No problem. You and ISIS, and let's say the Native Americans have been expelled from their land and genocide has
How was
happened.
the Rashidun Caliphate? Did I pronounce it right?
Yes,
How
yes.
was that born?
The Khulafa Rashidun.
Yeah.
Expansionism.
And how did they acquire that territory?
No,
With swords?
This is what I'm saying to you. Listen to me
Yeah.
carefully, yeah? I'm saying to you, now this is another equivocation. Why? I am saying if you believe, right, in a war, in the land that you get from war, if you believe in that theory, yeah, no problem. Yeah? You can say that. However, I would put to you, even then, that the way Israel was born was not through war. It hid behind the colonial master of the United Kingdom, who then assigned that land to them.
Well,
So it wasn't your war that you won.
The last time we spoke, what
Hold
did we speak about?
What?
We spoke about the King David bombing, yeah?
Yes.
Does that sound like Britain was the colonial power supporting the Israelis? Britain refused to vote in the vote, refused to vote in the UN
Sorry,
resolution.
tell me what you mean by this.
So there was an underground force in Israel that was
Irgun,
basically the Irgun that were fighting the British, for Jewish independence,
Yes.
And so at that time, Britain wasn't supporting Israel. When it came to the vote at the United Nations, Britain wasn't supporting Israel. When do you think
they
Britain
oscillated.
was supporting?
No, it oscillated.
When?
No, in my opinion, it oscillated.
So when were they supporting?
So, for example, there were times like we said. I think it was Clement. It was
I
Clement
don't know
Attlee.
what you're going to say.
But no. It was Neville Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain? When?
Yes.
That was before the war, mate.
Yeah, it was before the war. Neville Chamberlain, he wrote in a white paper in 1935. Okay. In 1935, check if I'm right. So right, Neville Chamberlain, see when he was in power.
Neville Stanley Baldwin, actually.
Neville
Stanley
Chamberlain, 1935, produced a white paper. The white paper said in it that the Jewish people were going to have their own land. Yeah, basically that. Is that right?
37 to 40.
Okay, so it might have been like, when was the white paper?
Which paper? The Peel? There was lots of white
When
papers.
was the white paper? No, the one.
1936 white paper.
Yeah, it was the 1936.
Which limited Jewish immigration to the mandatory Palestine. That was the white
that,
paper.
So that is when it oscillated from. That's when it oscillated from the whole Balfour thing to the white paper.
So you're saying the white paper was okay? I can agree with that.
So
I can agree
what
with
I'm
that.
saying is that the British policy, it oscillated between promising Israeli, or not at that time, but Israeli, the Jewish people land, and promising sovereignty and limitations of immigration to the Palestinian people because they saw that they were the majority, like in the white paper. Yeah.
Churchill was the one that authorised the white paper. It was Churchill. Yeah.
No, but then that white paper was repealed. And then afterwards, after all these terrorist attacks took place, the Urdun and these things, that's when you had. When did the King David attack happen?
I think was it
46?
1946. 1946. So the King David attack is not a coincidence that the King David hotel attack happened in 1946, where this underground, you would call them terrorist organization, yeah?
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
So Urdun, a group of people that went into a hotel and killed 92 civilian individuals.
No, not
There were
civilian.
92.
No. It was a military base. It was
But
the
it was
headquarters.
English people.
It was the headquarters of the British military power.
So you're saying that's okay?
No, I'm not saying it's okay. You asked me if they're terrorists.
No, okay, exactly. No, hold on. This is very important now because here this we're getting to somewhere, yeah?
So okay.
Begin.
Begin, yeah.
Begin.
Killed three
Menachem
sergeants, I think.
Exactly. Listen, Begin, how you say his name? Yeah. He was the leader of Urdun, no? He was part of Urdun. Yes, he was. No. Begin, he orchestrated a terrorist attack. In my opinion, we call it attack. Forget about the word terrorist. We're not going to use that word. In 1946, right before the mandate was referred to the UN, yeah?
Yeah.
For the British mandate, sorry, the resolution.
The partition vote, yeah.
Okay. He went into King David Hotel. They went into the basement of the hotel. Forget about they called them. They didn't call them.
They did call them.
So no problem. They called them. They didn't call them. The Jewish library says they called them. Yeah, I read it. I read the Jewish library, the Jewish virtual library. I saw their account. Begin says they called them. Whatever, no problem. They called them. They didn't call them. In whatever case, they went into the hotel and 92 people died because of the barrel bombs that they put in place in the shootings that happened. Okay, so who were killed? Some 27 Palestinians were killed, and the rest were British people. Yeah, working in that hotel.
Jews were killed as well.
Okay, some Jewish people were killed as
So-
well.
so
I don't understand because this is the thing. This is why I've come to you. I feel like sometimes you do have a bias. I come to you and say to you, do you consider that this was a terrorist attack? You're saying that they're not terrorists. Why are they not terrorists?
Okay.
Because you know what the interesting thing is? Sorry, just to add to it, that this same Begin in 1946 who orchestrated this terrorist attack and who allowed 92 people to be killed, it was the same Begin that became the Prime Minister. Became the President or Prime Minister?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister of Israel in 1948.
No, 1980 was it?
I actually don't know anything.
Begin.
Begin.
Oh, sorry, Begin was 1980. Yeah.
But just on Begin. So that's
So Begin, became Prime Minister. Okay. Now it's as if you have Osama bin Laden and the 9/11 attacks exactly like this.
It's a disgusting comparison.
No,
and
it's
I'll tell
exactly
you-
the same comparison.
It's a disgusting comparison,
Why?
and I'll tell you why.
Why?
In 1946,
Osama bin Laden becomes
the
puppet king of one of the
Are you
Arab
interested
nations.
in the answer? In
Got it.
1946,
Yes.
what had just finished in Europe?
We're talking about World War II.
I'm talking about the Holocaust. 6 million Jews.
World War II and Holocaust.
Yeah, but I'm talking
okay.
explicitly about the Holocaust.
Well, Holocaust happened in World War II. Yeah.
6 million Jews had just been slaughtered. During that period...
So you can kill other
Listen, please listen. The British...
And Urdun, by the way,
Can I just make my point? I let you speak and I didn't interrupt you.
Yes.
6 million Jews were slaughtered. During that period, the British closed the doors of mandatory Palestine to Jewish immigration. They limited it to 10,000 Jews coming in and increased immigration of Arabs. The Israelis...
Sorry, so that part again.
So Arabs migrated en masse from Lebanon, Syria, the surrounding states into mandatory Palestine, attracted by the affluence that the British and the
I don't
Jews...
know about
Okay,
this.
it's fine. It's a fact. You can Google it.
No,
Okay,
fine.
it's fine.
I don't know
This
about
is my perspective. This is
Okay,
the
go on.
Jewish narrative. In response to locking the door during the Holocaust, the Irgun started pushing hard back against the British, who were pushing hard against the Irgun. and the air gun hit the headquarters of the British military, which was at that time
hotel.
in the King David Hotel. It was the military HQ.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, in Jerusalem. I've been there. It's a beautiful hotel now.
Yes. Now it is down, they're renovated.
Yeah, and I'm getting soaked here. And in response, they hit the hotel. They warned them. They rang up in advance and say we're going to hit it. The
So
British,
if ISIS wants
but no, you
the
compared
Intercontinental
you
Hotel,
compared that to
and say, look, we're going to do a bomb today.
You compared Osama bin Laden
Yes, I did,
flying
yeah.
planes into a
Yes.
commercial industry,
Yes.
killing 2,000 civilians
Yes, yes.
as an equivalency to
Well,
Jews.
he wasn't there
Jews
himself.
responding to the
Oh, yes.
Holocaust. Responding to the
actually
Holocaust.
3,000.
The Jews responded 3,000. Sorry, responding to the Holocaust.
7-7. We've got 50 people there, by the way.
Responding to the Holocaust
Seven,
and
seven.
trying to increase Jewish immigration into a land.
So you're saying just because they're responding to the
I'm
Holocaust,
saying
they
this-
can do that?